Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 7 of my Python Tkinter video tutorial series. In the last part of the tutorial, we started creating a text editor. However, it had one major flaw, which I'm going to cover and fix today. So if we had our little application and we ran it, and we would type something like some random words, and then we went in and decided we wanted this to be bold by coming up here and going edit and bold. There it was. Now it's bold. And then we decide we want to come in and save that file. And we can come in and save it and replace it. However, if we would then come in and say file open and locate our file and reopen it, the styling would be gone. So what we're going to do in this tutorial is figure out how to fix that problem. So let's just come in here. First thing what I want to do is I want to dump out all of the styling information so that we can analyze it and figure out how to make it work. So how I'm going to do that is inside of save file, our function, I'm going to say print, and I'm going to convert this into a string. And to get the styling information, you say self, and then you reference our text area, and then you say dump. And what we want to dump is from the first index, that's 0, ignore the 1 in this situation, 0 is the beginning, to the end, and then I want to chop off the new lines that exist at the end of it, and that's how you would do that. However, you're going to have to put a plus inside of there. And if we save that and now rerun it, come inside of our text editor and again type in some random words, and then come in and bold this by going edit and bold, and then go and save it again. Let's go and save it in test 1 again and click on save and replace. Now you're going to see all the styling information shows up over here on the right side of the screen. So let's close this, and you can see all the styling information right here. However, it's not very easy to see, so I'll change that. Okay, so here is a complete dump of all the information. So what we're seeing here is the text area that is going to tell us where we are going to be placing text. So we're going to place the word sum starting at our 0 index, and it's just going to print sum there. That's all you need to know about that. We can also see down here text, it's placing random at the 5th index, and it's also going to place words at the 11th index. Now we want the styling information, however, and remember whenever we defined what it means to be bold, we configured that inside of our previous tutorial series. We said that if something is bold, it is going to use the tag BT. So it's going to start bolding text at our 5th index, and then it is going to take that off. See, tag on, tag off. But this is for the selection of the actual words. See, it stores the selection of the words plus adding bold. So whenever we are finding our solution, we're going to have to figure out a way to ignore the selection because we don't care about that. We, however, see here that the bold was taken off at the 11th index. So what we're going to need to do is this is a list. You can see that with our square opening and closing brackets that contains multiple tuples that define all of the styling for our document. So what we're going to have to do is take this list and then find the pieces of information that are important for us to be able to go in and grab information. So what I want to do is I want to go and find all the texts, all the tuples that contain the word text, go and place all of the words inside of the document. Then I want to look for tag on, except in the situations in which this would be the 2nd index, has SEL inside of it. I want to ignore those tag-ons. I only want to reference the bolds, and then I want to look for the bold ending tag. So I'm going to search for BT. I'm then going to store where the bolding begins at the 5th index, and then I want to search for tag off, again the bolding, and then I want to find where bolding ends. Okay, so those are the things that I need to do. So now I'll go do it. And it might help to sort of refer to that information. I'm going to put that into the resources folder so that you'll go to get that, print it, or put it on your screen or whatever, so you completely understand how I'm going to solve this issue. So what am I going to need to do? Well, whenever we open files, let's go and just move this completely out of the way. This is where we are going to first start styling our information or storing our styling information. So we're going to come in here. We are going to say that we want to open a file. And again, we are still going to delete the information that's already in there. One thing that we want to do, however, is we want to be able to store the list of tuples. So I'm going to create file list for that list. Then down inside of open, we're going to be changing some different things here. One thing we're going to do is we're going to comment out this. It's always good to, if you have working code and you're adding to it, it's always better to comment out code and until everything is fixed, because otherwise you might have, you're like, oh, I wish I still had that code, but you deleted it and then you're like, ah. So comment out your code that you're no longer going to need. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to say file list is going to be equal to list, and then you're going to have to import a new module inside of here, import AST. And what this is going to do is provide a function that is going to allow us to process the list of tuples into a list. So we'll come down inside of here for our list, and we'll go AST dot literal evaluate. Like I said, it's going to turn the list of tuples into a list for us. And we're going to reference our file. And remember, this is us opening information. And actually, it might make a little bit more sense to do the stuff down in the save function because it's very short. Basically, what the save function is going to do is it is just going to take the text that is inside of our text area, and it's going to create all of this right here and save that. And then the open is going to process that list of information into an actual text along with styling information that we can put in the text area. So let's come down into save file and let's first go and save the information in there inside of this, and then we'll come back to open and go and figure that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here inside of our save function, and I'm going to create text area list and go and get a dump like we had previously whenever I was going through and looking at this information right here. So there's no reason to type all that out again. Let's just go and copy it and paste it right there. So that's just a dump just like we had previously, and we can go and get rid of this now. I feel comfortable I can delete it because I have it right there. Then after I do that, I want to write information, but I want to write this dump file information instead of what I had previously. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say file write. However, what I want to do is basically take this information and store it in this format over here. So how we do that is I'm going to say that I want to take the information based off of spaces. So I'm getting the text that is in the text file, and I'm dividing up all the information based off of spaces. And I want to join that information in a very specific way. And how I want to join it is, you see that there are going to be parentheses and quotes inside of this information. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a parentheses, that's for this parenthesis right here. I'm then going to put quotes inside of there. I'm going to use curly brackets, and then another quote, once again, a space, and another quote, and then another space, and closing curly brackets, like that, with a closing parentheses. And then I want to put in a comma and a space, just like you see right here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a comma in there with a space. And then I have to go and put all of the individual pieces inside of it. So I'll say format, and specifically what I'm looking for here is the information that is stored in our text area list. So I'm going to say X and get the first item out of there, and X1 and X2. Now where I'm going to be pulling this information from is from the text area list, and how I can do that is say for X in text area list. And that's going to just get all of those individual words, which if you don't remember, inside of our text file, it just said some random words. So it's going to get some random and words and throw those inside of there. Okay, so that's all it's doing is generating that list. And that's what's going to be written to our file. So I'm going to save that. And now I can come up here inside of our open file function and process that information. So again, I'm just taking the list that is stored inside of the file and saving it to file list. And here is all the information. So the very first thing that I said that I wanted to do is to search for the list for the word text and then put in all the individual words in the right index. So I'm going to do that first. So down inside of here, what I'm going to do is say for data in file list, cycle through all that. If data 0, which is where text lies inside of that list, is equal to the word text, well, in that situation, I want to import that information into our text area, and I have to put it in the right places. And how we do that is to use insert, and I'm going to insert data 2 and data 1. And we can go and look at that again. So if we see text here, we can see here this is going to be data 1, this is data 0, data 1, and data 2. This is the word, this is where the word is placed. And remember, this is at the 0 index, ignore the 1 again. So for the insert, this is going to represent where we are placing the information. This is referring to the actual word we're placing. All right. So now we have all of our text placed inside of there. Now we have to worry about the styling information. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a while loop to cycle through all of the information in our list. So I'm going to say while I is less than the length of our file list. I want to continue cycling through and finding styling information. And I'm going to say if file list, and I'm going to put I inside of there. And then this second series of brackets is going to reference the tuple inside of it. And remember I said I'm specifically looking for tag on because that's going to be where BT is going to be located. However, I do not want information if it is a selection styling thing. I don't care about selections. I only care about the actual styling things. So I'm going to say, I want that information where tag on exists unless select is used inside of there. And of course, put the I inside of there. All right. So if I get those specific tags that I'm looking for styling, I want to specifically, because we're going to be adding more than just the option to get bold information. So I'm going to say that I want to get the styling tag used. So I'll say file list, and I will specifically want index 1 for that. So what am I looking for? Tag on, this is in index 0, this is in index 1, and this is in index 2. All right, so I have my styling information, and the next thing is I want to get the index where the styling begins. So I'm going to say start of styling, and that is going to be received from file list. Again, I, however, this is going to be 2. So that's going to be where my styling begins, and then I also want to get where my styling ends. So how can I get that information? Well, first off, let's say end of style, and by default, I'm going to set it for end. And you might say, well, why would you do that? Well, I'm going to be searching through a list, and anytime you do that, of course, you have to worry about accidentally asking for an index that doesn't exist in the list, which would cause your computer to crash. So what I want to do here is, let's say they typed in some random words, but then they bolded the last word instead of the other ones, well, then I know by default that I'm going to use end. So that's the only reason I'm giving that a default value of end. So now what do I need to do? Well, I need to make sure that I'm not searching beyond the end of the list. So I'm going to say if I, and how far is the end of the list? Let's look. So right here, tag on for bold. So this is going to be 0, 1, 2. This is the third tuple inside of our list. So I'm saying this is the second one. So where does this end? So this is 0, 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what that means is I want to make sure that I don't go beyond that point. I want to get this number right here, but I do not want to be put in a situation where I accidentally jump beyond the end of our list. So that means I'm going to say I plus 4, and I want to make sure that that is less than the length of our file list. And I hit the wrong parenthesis. Let's throw this there and that there. So if we're not going beyond the end of our list, I can then say end of style. The final index for that is at file list I plus 4, and I want to get the second tuple item inside of there. And now what I can do after I go through that is say self dot text area tag add. This is how you add styling. We covered it in the last part of the tutorial. So the styling is going to be bold, start of style, and then I'm also going to say end of style. And then of course we're also going to have to increment for our while loop to work. So I'm going to say I plus equal to 1. Oh, I see what I did. Up here inside of our open file function, I need to come down here and say that I wanted to read the file information. Otherwise, obviously, I can't read it. Whoops, and there's another little error here. This is actually caused because I have to increase my font size so big so you guys can see it. So I'll just zoom in here. Hopefully this is okay. The while loop needs to be directly in line with the for loop. So if we go and we put everything over here just a little bit, tab it back to where it's supposed to be, right like this, and now everything will be in place. So there we go. Hopefully that's a little bit easier to see. So it was an indentation error. So let's just save that, run it. And here we have our application. So we can type in some random words and we can highlight this, make it bold, file save it, go and save it in the same place as always, replace it, and then type in some random other stuff, and then go file open, find our application or our text, and there you can see it worked. All right, so there you go, guys. That is how we can save our styling information. If you have any questions, of course, you can leave them in the comments section, and all of the code is available in the resources folder. And like always, please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.